People sure seem to love their ship girls, so let's dive into that passion by exploring the lore of Azure Lane. Welcome back to Otaku Daikun. Dai here. Today's video is brought to you by my $50 patron Knight, who requested I cover the waifu fest that is Azure Lane. As a disclaimer, however, I do want to establish that I'll mostly be going off of the anime that recently aired, rather than the mobile game itself. This video will be designed to entice you into the game, but certainly not to summarize it outright. As such, there will be some differences between the game and anime, but none so huge that we really need to worry. So let's start with the basic premise. Azure Lane takes place in a fictional world where anthropomorphized warships fight against each other and a mysterious invading race known as the Sirens. The tech that makes this possible is known as the Mental Cube, a device that creates humanoid girls who can absorb the powers of famous battleships from around the world. They are the physical embodiment of people's wishes. Thus, instead of traditional naval warfare, battles are enacted by a clash of sentient, adorable girls and women who fight with primary weapons like swords, cannons, and bows, while aircraft carriers can also launch smaller drone ships. That said, this style of warfare is quite unconventional, not something humanity would have established on their own. I'll also admit, it's quite silly at times, making it hard to take the horrors of warfare seriously when they're presented in such a cute way. And yet, this is the appeal of Azure Lane, and there's a surprising amount of depth to this amusing concept. In truth, this waifu warfare is a problem created and preserved by the Sirens themselves. They're shrouded in mystery, but what I can say is that they're an advanced civilization that invade the Earth. They are the product of the Creator, an even more mysterious being worshipped by the Siren is a god. There is speculation as to whether the Siren and their creator are aliens from the far reaches of space, or the original inhabitants of Earth. Unfortunately, the exact answers remain elusive. Either way, the Sirens aspire to achieve perfection, just like their creator, and seek to evolve themselves through warfare. They believe they can improve as a species by fighting strong opponents. As such, they have chosen the inhabitants of Earth to serve as their adversary. The Sirens launch their invasion upon the Earth and eventually bring humanity to the brink of extinction. They don't finish the job, however, because destroying humanity isn't their actual goal. Instead, they need to perpetually fight to evolve. Problem is, humanity in its current state is too weak to properly oppose them. To solve this, the Sirens make use of their superior technology to effectively travel back in time and manipulate the war more directly. As a species, the Siren have some impressive abilities, such as the natural calculus system, which allows them to bend causality in their favor. This makes it easy for them to manipulate human history and make them stronger. The Sirens intentionally leak their tech, the mental cubes, to humanity so that their fights will be more evenly matched. Select Sirens, such as the Observers, perceive infinite universes through precognition, allowing them to better shape the tides of war. As such, despite humanity employing ship girls to fight back, they are essentially just playthings to the Siren, tools for evolution caught in various simulations the Sirens establish to try and improve themselves. That said, more recent events seem to suggest that there is a grander purpose behind why humanity in particular is the Sirens' main focus. Now, when distributing mental cubes to humans, the Sirens split them among various factions, which causes humanity to form 4 main groups. First, there is the Eagle Union, formed from the United States Navy. From the British forces we have the Royal Navy. Then there's the Sakura Empire, formed from the Imperial Japanese Navy, and Ironblood from the German forces of World War II. At first, these 4 factions united under one collective alliance called Azure Lane, fighting together against the Sirens. However, by the start of the story proper, this alliance has already been fractured. Presumably, the Sirens feel that infighting among the humans is beneficial, so they confront the ship girls Akagi and Kaga from the Sakura Empire, and manage to convince them that, in order for humanity to survive, they must serve the Sirens. This causes Ironblood and the Sakura Empire to break off and form their own alliance, the Red Axis, who fight using further technology leaked from the Sirens. Thus, the story begins with Azure Lane and the Red Axis fighting one another under the manipulation of the Sirens, who effectively control the flow of events from a place of power. As you can probably tell, this means that much of the story's campaigns are inspired directly from actual confrontations from World War II, the game in particular starting off with a scenario akin to the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Of course, Azure Lane is no pushover, with fighting prowess capable of matching the Red Axis even without the Sirens' help. This is in no small part due to the efforts of Enterprise, a Yorktown aircraft carrier known in real life as the ship to receive the most battle stars in World War II service, that being 20. She saw more combat than any other US ship, and was at one point the only active carrier in the Pacific for the United States. During the war, she sustained and survived 6 major damages, with the Japanese claiming to have sunk her multiple times. This earned her the nickname Grey Ghost. While she is the most formidable carrier, Enterprise has a rather broken persona. She thinks only of battle and cannot seem to enjoy everyday life. This concerns her friend from the Royal Navy, Belfast, who tries to encourage her to value life more. Going back to the Sirens, they only appear on occasion to push things along, and so we only see a few of them in the anime. Mainly, we see Observer Alpha and Tester Beta. Observer, as the name implies, gathers data on the fighting and reports it back to the creator. Tester, on the other hand, is more direct, and pits the humans against older Siren models, as well as herself, to confirm the data gathered by Observer. When called for, they also employ Purifier, a Siren tasked with eliminating unwanted elements from their simulations. Among the Siren forces, there is what can best be described as a wild card. This is Key Point G, also localized as Code G or Ash. G bears an uncanny resemblance to Enterprise, and could basically be described as Enterprise Alter in Fate terms. An Enterprise from a timeline in which the future is bleak and filled with fiery destruction. It is said that most modern Siren models are based off of G's design, and that she is actually the key to the creator. This is where fans get the idea that Sirens may in fact be of earthly origin. Either way, G is an exceptionally dangerous Siren who exerts free will within the Siren simulations, even going so far as to destroy Siren battalions. As for what she's trying to accomplish, she expresses that, after trying to attain peace by winning all of her battles, she discovered that the fighting just never ends. Along with the Sirens, she seems to have participated in various iterations of the war, perhaps searching for a way to end the conflict altogether. She's intimidating, but also not necessarily an enemy. As an incarnation of Enterprise from another timeline, she appears to have had a commander of her own, that being you, the player, and as such seems to care for you, though she denies it. Presumably, she protects you because of her own regrets in the war. However, there is no commander in the anime. As it stands, some of the grandest questions about Azure Lane's story have yet to be revealed, and fans are still speculating. Thus, for the remainder of this video, I'll focus on what we do have available by covering the anime's events and revealing a bit about select characters who appear to have more development. The anime begins during a brief moment of peace, after Azure Lane manages to fend off the Sirens for a time. They establish a new base, where all the ship girls are gathering. It's amidst the betrayal of the Red Axis, so the ships are still on edge, but overall society seems to be thriving. In fact, this is a thematic point within Azure Lane, exploring the casual lives of the ship girls in the wake of warfare. For instance, what are the consequences of granting sentience to warships? What do they have to live for? How do their lives differ from that of the humans they're supposed to protect? Certain divisions of ships are now siblings, family, and friends. It adds further complication to the emotions fueling the conflict. It also gives most of the ship girls lives worth fighting for, people to care about. As far as I'm concerned, they're just as alive as anyone else. This gets reflected in the interactions of some of the more moe ship girls, such as the Royal Navy's Unicorn and Javelin, as well as the Union's Laffy. Despite the world-changing fight against the Sirens, these are but 3 timid, awkward, and childish girls who have mundane concerns, such as wanting to sleep or trying to find a lost pet. Needless to say, this presents a vastly different attitude than one might expect to find among active combat personnel. Then there's Ayanami, the destroyer from the Sakura Empire. Even though she's on a mission to infiltrate the Azure Lane base as a spy, she befriends the 3 girls and finds herself torn when they are forced to fight one another. Even among the Red Axis who function as antagonists, there is a lot of humanity and camaraderie. The Sakura Empire's Akagi and Kaga, despite their ferocity in battle, have an intimate bond. They're willing to work with the Sirens in secret, because they genuinely believe doing so will benefit the world. Akagi in particular is led to believe that through cooperating, they can bring back their fallen sister Amagi. Observer Alpha gives Akagi a black mental cube, meant to collect data on the battlefield, to be used as a catalyst in creating a massive warship known as Orochi. The rest of the Sakura Empire follows along, unaware that the Sirens are behind it all. They don't realize that the black box isn't just based on Siren tech, but actually a gift from consorting with the Sirens. Peace is interrupted when Akagi uses the black box to summon Siren ships onto the battlefield. At this point, the Red Axis operates under the belief that they can use Siren technology to defeat the Sirens. This difference in belief is what divides humanity, but sadly none of them realize that, technically, they're all using Siren technology as pawns. Despite this, the ships hold true to their ideals and values, taking the war quite seriously. In Enterprise's case, she only thinks of combat, which inspires rivals in the Sakura Empire like Zuikaku. The difference between them, however, is that Zuikaku is able to rely on her allies, mainly her sister, while Enterprise is essentially a lone wolf. Naturally, Enterprise has sisters of her own, such as Hornet, but she's the type to push herself too far and not ask for help. This is due to her own insecurities, her desire not to let others suffer like her sister Yorktown, who was decommissioned with 2 amputated legs. As I mentioned earlier, Belfast steps in to befriend Enterprise and curb her self-destructive attitude, to teach her to relax, enjoy the small things like food, and better value her own life. Again, the majority of the Sakura Empire is unaware of their secret partnership with the Sirens. Needless to say, they wouldn't all feel as keen about it as Akagi. Thus, the secret needs to be kept, or Project Orochi will halt. Of course, this is when the repair ship Akashi accidentally witnesses Akagi conversing with Observer Alpha. She's almost executed, but maids from the Royal Navy intervene. They'd been spying on the Empire and managed to steal the black box, successfully bringing it to Azure Lane's base. This precedes a major confrontation between Azure Lane and the Red Axis. During a massive battle, Akagi uses Siren-given powers to unleash a separate dimension, which swallows much of Azure Lane's forces. There, they are bombarded by Siren attacks, and Enterprise is overwhelmed, sent sinking into the ocean. While submerged, she has a vision of Code G. Seeing a future where all of her friends are dead, Enterprise loses control of herself, driven by fear and an instinct for combat. She pierces Kaga and Akagi before regaining her senses. Everyone returns from the dimension, and Observer Alpha salvages Akagi's collapsed body. Kaga manages to survive, while the other members of the Sakura Empire question Akagi's powers. Apparently, all of this fighting has filled the black box with enough data for it to fully awaken Orochi. Thanks to Akagi's efforts, Orochi takes the form of her dead sister Amagi. Taunted by more images of G, Enterprise succumbs to her fear yet again and decimates the battlefield. In a moment of clarity, Ayanami finally resolves that she wants to fight to protect her friends, regardless of which side of the war they're on. Ayanami saves Zuikaku and her sister by slicing through Enterprise's aircraft. In turn, Javelin and Laffy save Ayanami from falling into the shattered portal to the other dimension. After the battle, Ayanami is taken by Azure Lane as a prisoner of war, which is less of a punishment and more of a chance for her to make more friends, further proving the senselessness of the war between humanity. Meanwhile, the Sakura Empire contemplates their next move. Akagi is effectively out of the picture, but Kaga still wants to head up Project Orochi. However, the Empire's elders don't feel it's safe to put Kaga, who is emotionally compromised, in charge. So they decide to put Orochi on hold. After all, they don't want to forget that the Sirens are their true enemy. Enterprise, on the other hand, continues to confront G within her mind. She, who still has hope for the future, is provoked by a version of herself who has seen the future, many times in fact, and has succumbed to a life of endless strife. As fellow Fate fans, I'm sure this is giving you all Shiro Emiya vibes. I certainly get that feeling. Before Enterprise can find any clarity on the situation, however, the base is attacked by Purifier. Without much effort, she steals back the black box and summons more Siren ships for another battle. During this chaos, Kaga ignores orders and awakens Orochi. Preparing for a grand confrontation, Purifier retreats to rendezvous with Observer and Tester. The black box combines with Orochi, unleashing a massive explosion over an uninhabited island, a declaration of war against all of humanity. The ship-girl form Orochi takes resembles Amagi, but is fundamentally different. After all, when Amagi was decommissioned, parts of her were reused to create Kaga. Through this revelation, Kaga loses her confidence, thinking she is nothing more than a failed replacement for Amagi, unworthy of Akagi's love. Of course, Akagi doesn't feel that way at all, but now in her weakened state, she is easily manipulated by Orochi. Regardless, Kaga continues to fight with the Sirens to try and make Akagi happy. United under a common enemy, all 4 camps once again team up to confront the Sirens like they did in the past. Orochi launches a devastating missile in the direction of the Azure Lane base, and Enterprise pursues it. Wanting to protect her loved ones, Enterprise takes control of her powers, landing a difficult shot from her bow that manages to detonate the missile from afar. The Sakura Empire confronts Kaga, and Zuikaku knocks some sense into her. Enterprise, this entire time, has been fearing the ocean as a symbol of warfare, but decides after confronting Code G that she wants to finally embrace the hope humanity had placed in her. She refuses to accept the bleak futures G warns her of, and instead rallies all of Azure Lane and the Red Axis in a final push to defeat Orochi. Enterprise gets in close to rescue Akagi, returning her to her senses. In a final farewell, Akagi parts with the sentiments of her sister Amagi, and Orochi shuts down. As a result, the 4 factions finally establish a treaty once more. Of course, the Sirens actually appreciate being defeated. After all, they've been wanting humanity as a strong opponent all along. G continues to assert to Enterprise that war is inevitable, and while Enterprise agrees, she refuses to lose hope. How does this fit into the context of the game? Well, the Sirens continue to run their simulations. This victory is just one of many outcomes explored by the Sirens in their pursuit of evolution. The deeper meaning behind that pursuit, however, has yet to fully emerge. As such, I hope this video has given you enough motive to either start or resume the game with a firmer grasp on what's at stake and the deeper themes behind it. Perhaps you've all come to understand and appreciate the appeal of ship girls as well, and the emotional battles they face. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this channel, help me beat the algorithm by liking, commenting, and sharing the video, subscribing to Otaku Daikun, and, most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of my anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content. If you want to support me directly, there are now 3 ways that all provide the same benefits. You can click join here on YouTube, or join Patreon or Subscribestar for access to exclusive vids and early access. As always, celebrate your fandom.